The therapist died at her Hollywood Hills residence. The well-known therapist DeMarco was murdered at her Hollywood Hills residence, and her ex-boyfriend is currently in custody. Indeed, the man. After being released less than 24 hours ago, the person who is accused of killing celebrity therapist Amie Harwick is back in jail tonight. He was obsessed with her breaking off all contact and getting rid of her for it. On Valentine's Day, he made his way into her house. "I wanted to marry her, but we broke up in a terrible way. And afterward, before I could converse with her once more, someone killed her. I really want people to know that she was afraid and that she suffered from anxiety. She lived with dread. She continued to live in this constant state of anxiety, right in the middle of Los Angeles. The community was shocked when a tragedy occurred. The inauspicious death of a refined specialist, Dr. Amie Harwick, shook the titles. But the circumstances of her death weren't the only thing that puzzled us. The chilling suspicion that this crime was committed by her ex-partner. So settle in and get ready for a journey into the mysterious world of Dr. Amie Harwick, a world of love, passion, and ultimately betrayal. Reality behind her stunning destruction is standing by. We have come to find it. Without further ado, let's get started on Dr. Harwick's journey into therapy and her eventual rise to fame as a well-known therapist and author. Her childhood was filled with kindness and humility. She was born on May 20, 1979, in the lively city of Los Angeles. As a child, she was immersed in the city's rich cultural fabric. Empathy and a sincere desire to assist others marked Harwick's early life. She decided to pursue a career in psychology because of this innate quality. After graduating from California Polytechnic State University with a bachelor's degree in psychology, she continued her education at Pepperdine University, where she received her master's degree in clinical psychology. The Dr. Harwick, a 38-year-old family relationship and sex specialist, had turned into a noticeable figure in Los Angeles. Her high-profile status was further enhanced by her engagement to comedian and host of The Price is Right, Drew Carey. Dr. Harwick was a multi-talented individual who published the New Sex Bible for Women in 2014, appeared in magazines, podcasts, and television news programs, and even had her own YouTube channel. She devoted both her professional and personal life to promoting women's empowerment and fostering connections through the Foxy Feminists organization. On the fateful night of February 14, 2020, Dr. Harwick set out on an ordinary day. She took a walk, had dinner with a friend, and then went to a burlesque show with her friends. She inquired about photos from the show via text at around 1 or 2 a.m., and she also inquired about an upcoming restaurant visit via text to her friend Robert Koshland. Unfortunately, it was soon after these messages that specialists accept she was gone after in her home. One of Dr. Harwick's roommates heard screams coming from the third floor of Dr. Harwick's house that night. He was frantic and couldn't find his phone. The flatmate shouted at the aggressor to stop. He eventually found assistance at 1:14 a.m. He dialed 911 and the police arrived at the scene. They found Dr. Harwick in basic condition, scarcely relaxing. She had apparently been tossed from her third-story gallery. Her death was later ruled a homicide by the medical examiner as the result of a combination of manual strangulation and blunt force trauma. Dr. Harwick's bedroom contained evidence of a violent struggle, forced entry, and blood as investigators searched the scene. Dots from her jewelry were tossed about. The flatmate's memory of an uproarious commotion prior in the night recommended the executioner had broken in and stood by quietly before the lethal assault. Who could possibly have committed this heinous crime against Dr. Amie Harwick is the burning question on everyone's mind. That leads us straight into the impending preliminary where everyone's eyes will be on the man captured under 24 hours after Harwick's heartbreaking homicide. Purse House, Gareth. Gareth is certainly not a commonplace suspect. He works as a software engineer and occasionally shoots professionally. He also tried his hand at comedy by appearing on the show Kill Tony. His exceptional character and parody desires unquestionably put him aside. Yet for what reason did the police capture him? Gareth Pursehouse was no more bizarre to Dr. Harwick. They had a turbulent past. 9 years previously, they had a romantic relationship, but they broke up. Harshly, Harwick had documented 2 defensive orders against Pursehouse, blaming him for different demonstrations of actual savagery, including hauling her out of a vehicle, choking, punching, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. She guaranteed he wouldn't look for help for his indignation issues. In addition, Harwick claimed that he had been watching her from afar, breaking into her apartment, sending her threatening messages, and so on. The most recent defensive request, tracing all the way back to 2012, had terminated in 2015, and Harwick hadn't seen Pursehouse in years. However, just a month before her tragic death, a startling new development was revealed. He came into contact with Harwick while he was working as a photographer at an event. Pursehouse allegedly hurled insults and blamed her for his misfortunes as their reunion turned dark. It's a scary occurrence that this occasion happened only a month prior to Harwick's death, a fundamental piece of proof for the indictment. In Gareth Pursehouse, his homicide preliminary spins around DNA. Dr. Amie Harwick's door and the DNA found under her nails, according to the prosecution, are identical to Purshouse's. However, that isn't the only disturbing discovery. At the scene of the crime, officials coincidentally found a needle loaded up with a deadly portion of nicotine. A similar syringe containing the same lethal liquid was discovered in the residence of Pierre's house, which was even more chilling. Here's the twist. Dr. Harwick's friends have said that they never saw her vape or inject herself with cigarettes or nicotine. Pursehouse, nonetheless, has argued not liable to these grave charges. His lawyer says that there isn't enough evidence to say that he was involved in the murder. Due to the lying in wait element of the crime, Pursehouse could receive a life sentence or even the death penalty if convicted. It's imperative that lead Representative Gavin Newsom plans to get rid of capital punishment in the approaching year. Robert Koshland, a dear companion of Dr. Harwick, joins this discussion as we pause for a memorable minute and study the individual Amie Harwick was. Amie was more than just Robert's friend. She was his best